We're here live where two tournaments are going on right now. I did say checkers, thank you. The tournament here going on between Mr. Michael Consiglio, Mr. Eric Christ, and also the other tournament, Mr. John J. Meir and Mr. Peter Sludge Martin. The rules in this competition are simple. You do not have to jump, even if you're in a compromising position. And the other rule is simply that the person who finishes with the most pieces at the end of the game will automatically advance to the final round.
I was robbed.
Earlier in some competitions,
he cheated. I was robbed.
Mr. Stash Majkud defeated Mr. McCluskey in a rather horrible way. Mr. Majkud finishing with 13 pieces on the board. Mr. McCluskey obviously down in spirits over the match. Also, Mr. Messler with a bare victory over Mr. Bareka in a earlier tournament today, with him finishing only 4 pieces of head. Obviously, he'll have to go on to play some more rounds later, as so far only Mr. Majkud will advance to the finals if no one can beat his 14 chip. So, and meanwhile, right now we're going to take you to some of the action going on here between Mr. Christ and Mr. Consiglio. And we're going to see if we can't get a close-up sound here on what's going on between the two players as they are very intense into this game here.
You will lose, as Napoleon did. Sal's got a stinky snitch. Sal's got a stinky snitch. You are your mother's left toe.
Obviously, a very intense game and a heated argument going on there. I couldn't quite hear that, but I'm sure it was something very interesting going on. We'll now go over and see if we can get some little bit of sound from going on here with the Sludge Mirror tournament going on. Yes, obviously, lots going on here. Very intense game. Pieces moving everywhere. We're just going to take a quick look at some of the moves by the players and report on what's going on here.
Yeah, the Frank's chalkboard where you can dive in and
Later on this evening,
on further review,
John Madden will be in later on with the CPS chalkboard to show us some of the plays. And Mr. Martin moves a piece around there and goes for the king there. This is for the big money today. The stakes are up as high as $10, ladies and gentlemen, $10. This is big time money for people here in Frakes. The motto is, ladies and gentlemen, $10, think beer. Mr. Chris doesn't know what's going on. Obviously, still suffering from his earlier morning erections, which troubled him immensely.
I was almost relieved at one point, but then I woke up.
you might forget the secret weapon.
Mr. Martin with an incredible 2 jump there with the king, going from the number 2 there, going from 2 to 4 by way of 11, as he so points out there. Mr. Martin obviously representing black on the team, and Mr. John J. Meir, the red. In the other match, Mr. Consiglio, when he's done playing with the granola bar wrapper, will soon learn that his opponent has just moved, Mr. Chris, the red piece, from the 22 to the 18 slot. In a sacrifice play, Mr. Consiglio, obviously to start as he runs his fingers through his hair and sees how much he really is losing up there.
See that?
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take you to our man in the street, Mr. Matt McCluskey, who was a witness to some of the earlier tournaments today, and see what he has to say.
I was robbed. He cheated. Where the hell is he? Stas. He's back there. He cheated. He's in the bathroom. He's putting chips up his sleeve right now. I don't know. I just don't know.
The champion of the earlier round between McCluskey and Majkud, Mr. Stash Majkud. Mr. Majkud, do you have any commentary for us? Could you please come out here? He will not speak until after he is convinced he will win the championship game and take the $10 prize.
I was a fan.
Sort of the alcoholism.
As Mr. McCluskey downs rum and coke in a 3-liter bottle. Mr. Consiglio scratches his head. Again, another sign of utter confusion. As you can see here, Mr. Mir has moved in and has now gained himself a king piece on the board. And Mr. Martin has done one in return, moving from the 7 to the 3 spot, securing another king on the board. Mr. Mir with a double jump as he moves his way down the board, moving from the 9 to the 27, taking 2 pieces. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to remind you that $10 is at stake here as Mr. Mir moves from 27 to 32 to get another king on the board. So it's evenly matched up in terms of kings. Obviously, Mr. Mir is losing by a few pieces here on the board. When we go back here to the Chris Consiglio competition, it looks rather evenly matched going on, with maybe Mr. Chris being down by a peg or so. Obviously, nothing going on really right now. They're just looking, and the frustration is the mounting everywhere in this game.
That kills me. The mount. Yeah. Okay.
Mrs. Mears the tits. Mrs.
You're gonna schmooze. Okay. Much more interesting commentary is obviously on the other side. Come on, Consiglio. Where'd you move?
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a commercial break right now, and we'll be back so we settle the dispute, as we call on the referee. Ladies, has your husband lost his sexual drive? Well, if so, don't let him sit around the house doing nothing all day. Let him take up some needlepoint. Yes, it's fun, it's exciting, and it gives him plenty to do. So whether he's a bore in the bedroom or a bore on the kitchen table, he doesn't have to be a bore everywhere he goes. Needlepoint, the craft of the unexcited male. Gentlemen, we're back with the tournament as it proceeds here, and obviously Mr. Christ with 2 kings on the board, and Mr. Consiglio scratching his head again in dismay, wondering what the hell is going on here. As we turn over to the other board, it seems that Mr. John J. Mir has 3 kings, very powerful kings on the board, and yet Mr. Martin has done him one better by having 4 on the board. And he's moving in for yet another king.
Just moves it away. I think I'm going to win here. I think I'm going to win big, and I'm pretty damn proud of it. Thank you very much.
Mr. Christ, do you find yourself...
Oh, excuse me. Can we get this on video? Can we get just that double whammy with the king on top? Twist. I think we're going to have to dig into the box now.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Majkud, who's serving as a ref here, we caught up with Mr. Martin during the middle of the game and asked him how he felt his chances were to advance to the final round. Mr. Martin, what are your chances of advancing to the final round?
I'll tell you after I'm going to lose this game.
So, Mr. Martin, of course, being not very candid here, just giving us a couple of sly remarks. It could be either way here. We also asked Mr. John J. Mir what he thought his chances were. Mr. Mir, what do you think your chances are in defeating Mr. Sludge Martin?
Well, technically he's a fine player. More of a finesse player. But I believe I can defeat him.
And there you have it, straight from the horse's mouth. Mr. Christ, obviously rejoicing in a move somewhere. We're going to go over for a live commentary now on what's just happened between Consiglio Christ game.
1, 2, 3, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Ooh. Mr. Christ with 13 ties Mr. Majku.
10, 12, 13.
13. That's the game ends, obviously.
Yes.
Mr. Consiglio, how do you feel?
Oh, I had one a few seconds ago. And I was waiting for him to come over here at the mic.
Obviously, Mr. Consiglio, very, very distraught. Very, it's unbelievable. as we turn now to Mr. Chris to get one last glimpse of victory here from the winner here, Mr. Eric Christ. And how do you feel after this incredible victory over such a loser opponent as Mr. Consiglio?
Well,
Not that this is a biased media coverage.
I don't want to degrade Mr. Consiglio anymore. He knows what he's done wrong. He knows. I told him about that 1974 move, but see if he takes any of my advice. But hey, I think the facts speak for myself when I pick my ear. That the fact that I barely had to leave my home territory speaks for my defense, and
Thank you, Mr. Chris, for that wonderful commentary. Obviously, now the judges will have to decide what's going to happen now that Mr. Chris and Mr. Machko both have 13 pieces. There's obviously a tie here. Do both go to the championship? Do we flip a coin? We don't know. We'll be right back after this to find out what the judge's decision is.
Here from Morty's Furniture. How are you? Got a good deal for you, okay? Come on down. You want a sofa? You want a chair? I got everything you need. It's party time, eh? We got everything you need. Hey, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. For a limited time only, when you come down to Morty's, I give you a sofa with a free couch potato. How can you beat it, huh? Free couch potatoes in the sofa. That's right. He just lays there, does nothing. Extra cushioning for the kids. You got to love it. The dog's going to love it. Your Aunt Marge's going to love it. So come down to Morty's. We got the furniture for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the judges have obviously decided that Mr. Christ and Mr. Majkud will square off in a round of checkers to determine who will be one of the finalists to go into the final round, and then that person will play the other finalist, the third place person who has come in. So the top two, obviously right now, Mr. Majkud and Mr. Christ, will go at each other, and the winner there will play the third person. Now we take you back to the game between Mr. John J. Muir and Mr. Martin. Obviously, it's a game of kings here, so to speak, with Mr. Martin with 6 kings on the board and Mr. Muir with 4. Obviously, he's going to lose here, not that we're biased in this media coverage. Mr. Muir, in last desperate attempts to move his pieces somewhere to avoid stalemate and capture.
What network is it?
So, once again, we'd like to remind our affiliates that you're watching the 1991 Checkers Championship here live from Frakes, Kentucky, coming to you via satellite. Mr. Martin, obviously, WFRN, playing with the checkers, as you see there. Contemplating his next move, looking for maybe a triple or quadruple jump to just finish off Mr. Muir in this last hopeful attempt to even get a king from the board from Mr. Martin. The slide moves. I have a feeling Mr. Muir will be moving into a rather uncompromising position here. Ladies and gentlemen, here one of the people going into the final round, obviously looking on here as maybe one of the competitors that they're going to have to face, Mr. Eric Christ, who previously proved victorious over the awful Mr. Consiglio, who showed absolutely no skill and no talent for the game of checkers, let alone for the game of humanity itself. Mr. Christ, what do you think is going to be happening in this game here? What do you see happening?
well, as you say, it's a game of kings per se, but it's.
Yes, thank you.
know.
That has been said earlier.
It's just.
Could you add further insight,
Well,
please?
you see, there's
Or must we
there's
babble?
the massive force of 6 against 4. Now, there's
Yes, that has also been established, Mr. Chris.
there's
Could
the
you please
strategy.
enlighten us with something new?
There's the strategy of sheer power, which obviously Mr. Martin has.
Mr. Chris, you're giving us the obvious. Could you please give us something a little more detailed? Could you foresee what's happening here with Mr. John J. Muir's rather despairing moves across the board?
Well, I would say that John J. Muir is going to get his ass kicked. That's what.
Oh, thank you. That provides plenty of the insight we need. We're also going to talk to the other finalist going into the final round here, and that's Mr. Stash Majkut. Obviously, a chess whiz, checkers whiz, excuse me. Chess is not his game, ladies and gentlemen. But if you ladies want to call him at 555-9239, you can find out some other things he has talent for. What do you think is going on in this game?
John's going to beat him because Sludge doesn't know what he's doing.
Obviously a professional remark, much different than that opinion of Mr. Christ, who is probably a far inferior player than Mr. Majkut. Now we'll take you back to the game itself. What's going on as it intensifies. Again, 6 kings to 4 kings. Sludge Martin with the obvious edge in terms of firepower. Mr. John J. Muir looking to come out of this like with his head above the water.
Hey, who's doing the obvious now?
What?
Mr. Muir, how do you feel that things have improved in this game or not improved?
Well, Stosh's endorsement has to give the whole team a lot of encouragement.
And Mr. Martin, obviously Mr. Christ on your side, feeling that you have a much superior advantage. Do you accept Mr. Christ's endorsement? Do you feel that he is correct in evaluating the situation, or is he totally off, as most of us think?
I agree with the other expert opinion. I will probably lose this game because I don't know what I'm doing.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Ladies and gentlemen, obviously this game intensifies as the time ticks away, with still one other preliminary match to be played between Mr. Lafferty and Mr. Rodowitz, who have yet to be present but have paid their dues. We'll be right back after the audience has been tamed. Thank you. The Frakes 1991 Checkers Championship is sponsored in part by Milton Bradley, the chess checkers with backgammon and AC-deucey set, ages 7 to adult, available for you at home. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to replay some tape for you that we missed during the commercial break. Obviously, it was said that Mr. Martin had a pretty good chance of winning with all his kings, but as the tape will show in slow motion, how he has proved to be very stupid, as Mr. Majkut has predicted he would be. You'll see now the move by Mr. Martin, which puts him in the most compromising position. Everything will happen here in slow motion, so pay close attention to the board. And notice here, Mr. Muir, obviously taking delight of what he sees and moves around, comes around. A triple jump. Oh, shit. Obviously, the crowd going wild at the time as Mr. Martin loses 3 big kings right off the bat and leaves things in a rather dismay here at the 1991 Checkers Championship. And now Mr. Muir with 4 kings with obviously the edge over top of Mr. Martin. As we return you now back to our regular action that is happening here in Frakes, Kentucky. We'd like to remind you all out there that you're watching WASS Network. Mr. Muir looking again to make some headway into wrapping up this game. And Mr. Martin, of course, only left to retreat, to hide his tail between his legs and bury his head in the sand, so to speak. Mr. Muir studies the board intently. He looks, can he set up a sacrifice play perhaps, and then obviously win out over Mr. Sludge, or shall he, as Mr. Majkut thinks that's pretty funny.
I made the last button. I don't know what he's talking about.
If you notice what's going on here, Mr. Martin looking around, obviously lost. Perhaps looking for his other goggles that would help him with his vision. He runs out to his locker room and quick, he finds his sneaker there. Obviously, that won't help with anything. he's resorting to taking some heavy medication here, maybe ODing on Advil. Is this true that the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar of checkers here will turn in his skillful? It's his move, ladies and gentlemen, as he comes darting back to the arena here to finish off this game. He sits back down and he wonders what the hell's going on. He makes a move, puts himself in a rather interesting position to obviously obtain 2 kings, but Mr. Mir, being the intelligent person that he is, will not be subject to such a travesty. Mr. Majkud, obviously your predictions are coming about to be here. Can you tell us how you have foreseen this kind of event? Is it that Polish wisdom that you possess, or is it just something that you have just from the total knowledge of the game that you?
It's fixed. He cheated. I was right. Polish wisdom I possess.
The Polish wisdom, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, an intense game here. We're still waiting for one of the preliminary rounds to get underway between Mr. Radowitz and Mr. Lafferty, of whom so far have not shown up in the arena. They're meant to be here today at some time, perhaps getting some scrump action from some of the locals in the area. We're going to be right back after this commercial message and hopefully bring you an update on the status of the Sludge mirror game and also on Radowitz and Lafferty.
Potato chips. Okay, roll. Utz potato chips. They're brand new on the market. They're delicious. They're crispy. They're tortilla flavored. Bet you won't eat just one. God!
Ladies and gentlemen, we take a chip break here. Mr. John Mir. Update situation is 3 kings, Mr. John Mir, 2 kings, Mr. Martin. And now we're going to take you on a little special search for the 2 players who have yet to even play the preliminary round, as Mr. Zamuda there put something on my head. We'll take you right now to that.
Thank you very much, Sal. Well, I'm now coming out of the closet, and they're not in here. This point has turned up negative. We cannot seem to locate Radowitz and Lafferty anywhere. But maybe a further search would prove better results. We're now in the bathroom of the
House. Just the arena.
Frakes. Okay, ready?
Go.
We're now in the, we're going to search in the bathroom of the Frakes Civic Center. And, it smells a little bit in here, so we're hot on the track of Radowitz. No, but it does smell, so that gives us an inkling that they could be in the area. But we now move into the bedroom. They might be catching a snooze or 2. Sir, we have a few words with you.
No cameras, no cameras, no cameras, no cameras.
Well, I guess he's not really a fan of checkers. Or chess. So far up to this point, Sal, nothing has turned conclusive yet. But as soon as we find out, we'll let you know. Back to you, Sal.
Thank you, Isaac Mazel Tov, for that report. Obviously, we're back to the game here. Still 3 kings for Mir and 2 for Sludge after that incredible, silly move, losing such a powerful force on the board. Mr. Martin moves from 11 to 15. Mr. Mir retreats from 23 to 27. Mr. Martin moves from 15 to 10. Mr. Mir again comes back to 27 to 23. That's an intense move.
That guy's gonna lose.
If I say something, Sal.
And ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, just for fun, some of the other champions and other noted losers of today's earlier checker tournaments are having a friendly game of chess. Mr. Consiglio obviously looks at just as distraught as he did playing checkers as he does now, playing chess. However, he does make a powerful move and takes the queen from Mr. Majkud. However, this probably will be another downfall maneuver, as Mr. Martin had proved, maybe another silly, stupid maneuver. Thank you. And that's the buzzer that says we must go back now to the other competition as time is running out. Mr. Martin would like to give a little commentary now.
I'm just happy to say that I was a part of the stupidest move in checker history. Thank you.
Obviously, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Martin doesn't know what he says, and the fart rule is in effect at this time, as the thumbs go to the forehead to indicate that someone has farted, perhaps the cameraman. And quick, before you have to eat it, is signal that you are free from the taste.
I would consider this a stalemate at this point, with you gaining the victory.
Mr. Martin, obviously considering a stalemate, in this case I wouldn't call it a stalemate, I would just call it a simple right-out forfeit of the game, realizing how stupid he is in these matters. Doesn't know what to do. Commentary from the background from the weaving husband. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Martin throws in the sweater into the ring.
Don't throw it in. You can do it.
Mr. Martin throws in the white sneaker, signifying the end of the match. And John Muir goes victorious with 6 wedges on the board, as the buzzer incredibly long there, ladies and gentlemen. We still wait for one preliminary round from the two weenies themselves, Mr. Rodowitz and Mr. Lafferty. As soon as they get here and play the game, we can then advance to the finals, and then